You know what's strange? Millennials get blamed for avocado toast and killing entire industries, but almost nobody actually looks at what's going on underneath their money behavior. They save less than older generations, carry more credit card debt than any generation in history right now, and still somehow manage to travel more than people who make twice their income. That's not financial recklessness. That's a coping strategy. And it traces back to a very specific stretch of bad timing nobody else lived through quite the same way. Picture this. You graduate college around 2009, right into the worst job market in decades. You did everything right. Good grades, a degree, a plan, and the economy simply wasn't hiring. Or you graduated a few years later and watched your older siblings go through it and adjusted your entire worldview before you even started. Here's the first strange thing about millennial money behavior. As of 2025, millennials carry more average credit card debt than baby boomers for the first time ever, according to Experian. Nearly $7,000 on average. At the same time, the majority of millennials say credit card debt has noticeably hurt their mental health. They're not careless with debt. They're stressed about it constantly and still accumulating it anyway. That's not a contradiction. It's what happens when wages don't keep pace with the cost of living long enough. A big piece of that debt isn't lifestyle spending. Survey data shows a large share of millennials regularly lean on credit cards just to cover everyday expenses they otherwise couldn't afford. That's not, "I want a vacation." That's, "Rent went up again." Here's the second strange thing. According to industry retirement studies, millennials have meaningfully less saved for retirement on average than Gen X did at the same stage, and far less than baby boomers had. Even though millennials are, on paper, more financially educated than any generation before them. They grew up with personal finance content everywhere. They know what a Roth IRA is. Knowing the math and having the spare income to act on it are two completely different problems, and millennials got handed the first one without nearly enough of the second. Now here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Despite all of that, surveys consistently find a large majority of millennials say they'd rather spend money on experiences, travel, concerts, time with people, than on physical things. People call this reckless. It's actually a rational response to an unstable economy. A trip you took can't be repossessed. A stock market crash can't take back a memory. When you've watched home values crater and 401ks get cut in half, stuff, and even savings, start to feel less permanent than they're supposed to. Experiences became the one form of spending that felt immune to the next crisis. And almost half of millennials today report they don't have enough saved to cover 3 months of unexpected expenses. Not because they're bad with money, but because a meaningful chunk of their income is already going to debt payments and rising costs before savings ever enters the conversation. Here's something that confuses people who expect millennials to behave like the generation before them. Nearly a quarter of millennials in recent surveys say they've essentially given up on the idea of ever owning a home, a number that's roughly doubled over the past several years. That's not laziness. That's a generation doing the math on home prices versus their income and reasonably concluding the traditional path might not be available to them, then redirecting their energy and money toward things they actually feel they can control, which often means experiences, debt management, or whatever flexibility they can build. So, what does all of this actually tell us? Millennial money psychology isn't contradictory. It's adapted to a recession they graduated into, a housing market that priced many of them out, and a cost of living that's outpaced their paychecks for most of their adult life. They learned that the old formula, work hard, save steadily, retire comfortably, didn't reliably hold for the generation right before them either. So they hedge.
Spend on what feels permanent. Manage debt they can't always avoid. And try to build flexibility. Instead of betting everything on a 30-year plan the economy might rewrite anyway. If you see yourself in any of this, drop a comment about which part hit closest to home. And if you want the next breakdown, what Gen Z's money psychology looks like, and how it's already different from millennials in some surprising ways, subscribe so you catch it. Your money habits aren't random. They're a response to the world that shaped you.